Welcome to Alchemy's new interview series called Building the Next Bull. This interview series highlights the builders, the developers, the brands who are really paving the way for the future of the internet. Tune in to learn about the products and the services being built on Alchemy's developer platform and how these products and services are using blockchain technology to unleash the potential of Web3. In today's interview, I speak with Jacopo, who is the founder of Slice.so, a decentralized payment splitter platform or protocol. It's a series of smart contracts on Ethereum. He's also the author of one of Italy's most popular science and technology books on Bitcoin. So I'm really excited to share this with you. Keep watching to see the whole interview. Let's go. Cool. So today we have a very special guest, Jacopo from Slice.so or Slice. Really interesting Web3 protocol that is going to be, I think, pretty useful for a lot of people in the space. But we'll start with some of the basics. Just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself, share your background, and how did you enter the world of Web3?
Thank you for having me, Albert. And academically, I'm actually an industrial engineer, materials engineer, but over the time I became a full stack and also Solidity developer. And I've been experimenting with startup and projects since around 2016. And I think the first time when I got into Web3 was when I wrote a book on the topic in Italy back in 2017. And that was kind of a pretty intense experience because, you know, it takes a lot of effort actually to write a book. I didn't know that. But it was also that where I got it with and eventually triggered the curiosity to learn Solidity and go into rabbit hole, make the jump. Fast forward a couple of years of experimentation, and in early 2021, I started wrapping my head around an early version of Slice, and this is today.
That's super cool. I'm actually curious before we get into Slice, what inspired you to try to get into Bitcoin, write the Bitcoin book back in 2016?
At that time there was a lot of buzz around the topic, and we had I actually didn't write the book alone, by the way. I wrote it with two other friends that I was co-working with. We had
Nice.
technical consultancy agency, and one of the first things that we did was to get the name out there. We wanted to do something that was related to one of the latest technologies. And at the time in Italy, there was a lot of talk and very few resources around blockchain in the Italian language. And so we eventually did that and we wrote the book.
That's awesome. Did you get big feedback from companies in the space or people who are kind of reading it and being like, oh, wow, thanks so much for this?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually one of the best-selling book in Italy. It's been for
Wow.
these years. So it was quite unexpected, to be honest, and a super formative experience at a personal level. Um, but so yeah, definitely a lot of feedback and a lot of good stuff that I definitely do it again, even if it took a lot of effort, but I did.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'll have to read. I'll have to learn Italian and read the book. But okay, so walk me through how you went from that to deciding, okay, we need something called Slice now. But this idea. How did you start exploring this?
Yeah, I think well,
Oh, and sorry.
this
Help us give it an overview of what Slice is right now, and then we can lead to how we got there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can do both ways, but
Sure.
very quickly about Slice. Slice is the decentralized commerce protocol, and even before describing Slice, I would like to even spend a few words about what do I mean with decentralized commerce.
Okay. Love that.
So in Web3, we used to have crypto addresses that allow us to easily send and receive crypto, and they basically work like fiat bank transfer, but with crypto. Uh, However, with commercial applications, like you think about selling physical items or purchasing something online, that kind of experience actually requires more than just sending payments or receiving them. It requires sometimes reacting to purchases with some action. This could be fulfilling an order or enabling a subscription or minting an NFT. Uh, And also you have to consider a lot of variables. You have availability, you have pricing, you can have eligibility requirements, you can have a bunch of aspects that vary on a case-by-case basis. So in Web 2, this has been solved by banks, payments processors, e-commerce platforms, and a bunch of other services that works together to provide a frictionless service to users. And we've been working on this for a long time, and it's seamless for us now. However, you can see that also the infrastructure that you can imagine that the infrastructure underlying the commerce is quite complex and also a bit fragmented. In Web3, we actually don't have that yet. We don't have an infrastructure that enables all these kind of commercial transactions fully on chain. And this is what Slice is. Slice at its core, it aims to be an upgrade over the existing commerce infrastructure. And in other words, it's a protocol that enables trustless commerce at the blockchain layer. If I were to say it in other words, and so now I'm going to answer your question, what actually is Slice? Slice allows you to do two things, basically. It allows you selling anything fully on chain, and it allows you to split payments dynamically between multiple addresses. So you can think about it as a mix between a payments infrastructure and a platform for decentralized storefronts. And if we were to make a Web2 comparison, you can think of it as a mix between Stripe and Shopify, but which is also composable with the entire Ethereum ecosystem.
Got it.
And if you want me to go deeper into that, the basic building block of Slice is what we call slicers, which are smart contracts that that have the core feature of distributing any payment they receive to their owners proportionally to their own slices. The slices are ERC-55 semi-fungible tokens, so they're freely transferable. You can see them on OpenSea, and this introduces the concept that at Slice we called dynamic payment splitting. So let's say that you own 10% of the slices of a slicer. That gives you like the ability to receive 10% of all the earnings that the slicer does on chain. However, if you sold those slices on OpenSea, the new owner from that moment onward will receive the 10% or any amount that he purchased from you. And so this introduces this dynamic payments.
Got it.
And to conclude, each slicer also has this decentralized storefront that we call D-Source, from where owners can actually sell anything. And this happens via so-called product that can represent literally anything depending on how they're set up. Slice provides an on-chain inventory, which can be useful for selling merchandise or tickets to events, provides a way to track purchases, which can be used to provide services or setting up payments. So you can think of Slice as a way to handle billing for apps. And finally, the thing that I'm most excited about is the purchase hooks, which is the ability to execute any on-chain logic when someone purchases a specific product, and sellers are able to fully customize this and use it to mint NFTs, token gates, allow lists, build interaction with other protocols with the full customizability that the blockchain provides.
That's awesome. How long has it taken you guys to get to this point?
Around 1.5 years. And this was mostly built by me over the course of the time. A bunch of contributors joined what is now a DAO, and we have some contributors working on this. But on the technical side, I'm the one who, definitely. That's
awesome. Okay, cool. Jacopo, do you think you can show me like a product demo so that way it's kind of clear to people, what exactly is the experience and what it's like today?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me try. Okay. I think I need to enable the settings here. Give me just a second.
This stuff is really exciting. I think the first time I even thought about on-chain payments and stuff was when I heard about Superfluid about like
Mm-hmm.
8 months ago, maybe. So I have some questions about how you guys relate to them or can partner with them or maybe compete with them, I guess. Not sure, but yeah, let's go through the product demo first. I want to see kind of like what the experience
Yeah,
is
yeah,
and
yeah. I can share
show
more
it to
about
everybody.
that, of course,
Okay.
later.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, then, really quickly. Um, okay, really quickly. The first thing that I think it's best to show you is how you create a slicer. So,
Okay.
oh, I need to connect my wallet here. Laptop is struggling.
Oh, is there
Okay.
a okay? I think there's a MetaMask notification. Is that not popping up for you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it popped up. Nobody
Oh,
was
okay. Oh, got
loading
it.
for a bit.
Loading. Got it. Got it. Okay, nice. Yeah, this is one of the aspects of blockchain apps that we need to figure out as an industry.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, no,
many,
I
many
think that,
clicks and passwords and everything.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is like the create slicer page. And here you
Okay.
can see that I can add as many addresses as I want. This is actually on testnet, yeah, on Rinkeby. And here I can add, I think I'm on Rinkeby. Yes, I can add another
Nice.
addresses and I can, decide how many slices I want to give to each address. And depending on, how I split it, each of the address will get a percentage of, this is the
Mm.
percentage that will be received by all the slicer when earnings are, when the slice earns something.
So I can think
If
of slices as shares, kind of a revenue stream.
it's a similar concept to shares,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Slices represent the share that you own of a slicer, and
Hmm.
depending on how many slicer you use to create this, you can see that now there are 200 total slices because I gave 100 to each. But if I give 1,000, of course, it becomes 2,000.
Got it.
Um, and if you have an address here, I can put yours as well.
That guy in tech.eth, but I'm not sure if I'm on Rinkeby.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
Here, I'll send you mine on chat. I
okay, nice.
want to participate. One second. Okay, let's copy that, and then is there a chat in this? Yeah, there is. Nice.
Yes,
Okay. All right, sent.
awesome. Okay, and now I'm giving 1,000 slices to each. I'm gonna give 2,000 to you. And
Let's
I'm gonna
go.
I'm gonna say that you need to hold 1,000 slices in order to be able to. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna give 500 to this one. And so you can see that we have this concept of super owners here that
Mm,
basically allows someone with enough slices to edit the metadata of the slicer or to add new products on sale. Basically gives admin privileges over the slicer and its store.
got it.
And as a creator, you have the possibility to say how much of this percentage someone needs to own to be an admin, basically.
Right. Okay.
Okay, these are weird numbers though, so I'm gonna switch back to 1,000, and
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and create it. And meanwhile, this gets created.
And so are you? I don't see the MetaMask, but you're signing a transaction right now.
Yes, yes. Right now I'm signing a transaction,
Okay.
and it started. So
Nice.
okay, let's wait for it to complete.
Slicing in progress.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we're waiting for this, what have you seen is the biggest use case, I guess, for users on the platform so far?
Yeah, right now most people have used Slice to use it as a sort of a way to mint NFTs and use the stores features to allow collectors to claim the NFT or to purchase it. I'm gonna switch really
Interesting.
quickly to this use case that is quite relevant. This is actually on mainnet,
Okay.
and it's a recent slicer that was dropped, and it's a comic project of SharkDAO, which is a announced derivative
Hmm.
DAO.
Uh,
And you can see a bunch of things here. You can see that this is actually how a slicer looks um, on Slice. Um,
nice.
you can see who are the owners of this slicer. So in this case, there's 100% that is owned by a single address. You can go have a peek on OpenSea to see how it looks here. And sure enough,
Yeah.
you can see the image.
OpenSea always has.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's open or it's my laptop right now, but you should see the image here of that was
Yeah.
also there. You can, there it is.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
You can
Nice.
see the description, and you can find a bunch of information. One of which is the amount of ETH that this slicer
Oh,
has received. So what we're doing here
nice.
is that we have like dynamic metadata, if you want to call them that way.
Yeah. Okay.
And whenever that slicer receives money, you can see how much that slicer has earned directly on OpenSea without having to go to the protocol itself.
Got it. So that slicer being the person who owns this NFT right now.
Right now, you can see that there are a million slices
Right.
owned by a single address.
Right.
If we go back to the slicer that we just created, just to see how it appears,
Okay.
let's see if it's been indexed by OpenSea. Yes, you can see there are 3 owners and 4,000 total of slices, which is how we set up our slices.
Right.
And yeah,
And, okay, and then so if you go back to the stats, the ETH received 0.001 of 0.01. What does that mean? Like, where does that 0.01 come from, the total?
yeah. So this is like the way that OpenSea displays the maximum amount of ETH received by this collection. In this case, all slicers are under the same collection that in this case is called Slice Protocol on testnet. So here it's saying that the maximum amount that was made by this collection was 0.01, and this slicer specifically has earned 0.001. I think. I'm not entirely sure about this, but this is how I remember this.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Let me see. And then super. Okay. So this is kind of metadata about this slice.
This specific slicer. So
Right.
you can also see here that someone has donated 0.001 ETH to this slicer here, which if this slicer was shared by more than one owner, would be split between the multiple owners of this slicer.
Got it. Got it.
And this same amount is also what appears in OpenSea. And also, I'd like to share an anecdote if it's fine for you. This is actually
Yeah.
how Slice came to be at the beginnings. Before all of this was, I was even thinking about all of this. I was looking for a way for a side project to like see if it was possible to give to an NFT an objective value, like a
Okay.
base value from which someone could base values that someone could use to make an estimate of how much it would be worth.
Sure.
The way what I came up with it was how much in this case, how much that NFT has earned, how much this slicer has earned. And
Right.
you can see this here. This is the ETH receipt amount.
Got it. Got it. Got it. That kind of makes sense because it's like if there's cash flow
Yeah.
for this asset, then it's like you can value it at whatever like multiple or however you want to
Yeah, if you're
calculate.
if
So
you're a
that's cool.
prospective buyer and you see a slicer that has earned 100 ETH over a year and it's split between 100 slices, you know that if you want to buy one slice, you have an estimate to know how much it could earn you in the future, and so you know how much you could
Right.
have as an offer, you both as a buyer and as a seller. Of course, there's a bunch of other
Yeah.
aspects
Yeah.
that come into place when estimating prices of these kind of things. But it was a cool thing that
Right.
I wanted to experiment first, and then ended up being part of the Slice ecosystem.
I love that. That's so awesome. Do you know what the motivation was in particular for this Shark Street Comics to use Slice?
Yeah,
Because I guess right now it seems like more of an experiment, right? Because it's like, there's only one owner and not a ton of activity on this particular one.
yeah. So the way this project specifically was used to mint an NFT that acted as the Shark DAO's very own comic series. And this was the first experiment of Shark DAO with this sort of things, and we partnered to make this happen. And I'm actually jumping a bit ahead here, but this is how a product looks. This is
Mm-hmm.
like when someone put a product on sale, you have all this information. You can see that it's a free product, that 35 people have already purchased it, that there are 60 units left to purchase, and you have a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
information here that you can scroll. In this specific use
Got it.
case, you can see that this NFT can be claimed for free by anyone that owns at least one NFT of these three collections or holds at
Mm-hmm.
least 10,000 sharks. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this is the customizability that Slice allows when you're selling something. This is not
Mm-hmm.
technically a sale, but we call it a purchase. Because what
Right.
happens here is that I can check this thing that happens on the front end is actually a call on the
Mm-hmm.
blockchain that checks if I satisfy the requirement. And if I
Right,
do,
because I'm connected. I
okay,
have my wallet connected, and then you're using that address that is returned from the wallet connection
yeah,
to do the
exactly,
on-chain check.
exactly.
That's really cool that that's built in to Slice.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that on a different one because it's gonna take ages otherwise to, yeah, this one here. So this is a similar example where I used a
Mm-hmm.
fake token gating mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And oh damn, I need to connect here as well. Okay. And here, this address specifically, I think it holds this SLT tokens. And when I click here, it
Mm-hmm.
unlocks. And so I can add this product
Mm.
to the cart and I can check out to buy
Mm-hmm.
it. So Slice
Mm.
is it's really similar to how you imagine a typical e-commerce, the front end. And you can see what happens here, of course,
Got
but
it.
it's a standard transaction that pops up. And if I
Mm-hmm.
confirm it, it's gonna purchase the product.
Coue. MetaMask isn't showing
Yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah,
but we can imagine it.
yeah. And now if I switch address again, I'm sorry, I'm switching topics in Slicer, so I hope it's not too confusing, but uh, I'm gonna switch to a different address that has already purchased this product. And you can see here that this this is the information that the seller wants the buyer to see. And in this case,
Okay.
the seller has a bunch of options that he can fill when creating a product. In this case, what he added was an encrypted note. This is saved on
Mm-hmm.
IPFS, on Filecoin, and in an encrypted form. And it's decrypted on the front end in order so that only the buyer can see this. And this is also valid for the
Mm-hmm.
files that the seller wants me to see. So in this case, I can download this file and I can only download it as a buyer.
Mm.
And this is all a bunch of tools that, as that,
Got it. That's cool. That's really cool.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you've heard of lit protocol. I just learned about that
I
recently.
did heard of it, but I didn't get really into it. So I'm super curious. I've seen your
Yeah,
tutorial and
we don't have to get
okay,
into it. Yeah, I mentioned it, but I didn't have time to go super in depth. It's like basically you can encrypt in a decentralized way because I'm sure or I guess question for you for that encryption. Basically, you said it decrypts on the front end or it's like encrypted on the front end so that it doesn't reveal it or something
exactly.
like
I
that.
encrypted on the front end. It's quite complex, but I encrypted on the front end when the seller creates a product. So he uploads file and
Mm-hmm.
they get encrypted during the product creation
Yeah.
process. And then there's a way that
All right.
the encryption key gets generated. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
only the condition to generate the key are only satisfied when a buyer actually purchases a product. And it's a bunch of things that happen
Mm,
both on
wow. Okay.
chain and off
Okay.
chain and with the secret key that we have on the back end and a bunch of things that all work together to make it so that it, it happens.
Got it. Got it. I see. I see. Okay, that's pretty cool. Would love to do like a deep dive on that. Maybe another time, another
Yeah,
different session. But yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to
totally.
talk about that for a second. Okay, so also curious about I guess what kind of traction you're seeing with users. We've been talking about some example use cases and stuff like that. So yeah, why don't you talk me through that?
Yeah, we recently launched Slice and we've been seeing quite of a mild traction lately. What we are excited about is the kind of like what we're seeing is kind of a sorry, uh, you can see how there are a lot of new concepts that comes into Slice, the dynamic splitting and the centralized stores, and why would you use Slice to sell a product and the way the products are set up, and all of that typically
Hmm.
are quite complex to wrap one's head around from a non-technical user, which is the main concern that we've had for a while, and that we are like trying to make it easier for people to understand how they can use Slice. What makes me excited personally is that I've seen quite a number of devs that gets excited when I go into the details of what happens under the hood at Slice. So, for example, one thing here that I didn't mention is that this is the product on mainnet that checks the eligibility of these NFTs. Everything that you see here on the front end actually happens on the blockchain, and here you can see that this product interacts with a contract, and it tells you here that it's executing a function. So if you go here, you can actually check the contract, and you can see what's going on in this function. And sure enough, it mints an NFT, and in this case, it checks a requirement. In this case, if the account is allowed to buy a product, and the requirement is here in this function here.
Wow, that's really nice that you have that visibility, and you like purposefully show people like, hey, you can vet this if you want. You can understand what's going on.
Fully transparency.
That's something I think we need more of in this industry at this point. Yeah. That's really cool. That's awesome. Okay, so like I think that's really interesting that it is really interesting to me as a developer, because I want to know like how are people innovating in this like on-chain on-chain ways, I guess. What are the biggest challenges you've faced so far from a product perspective or from a business perspective?
Well, from a product perspective, you can imagine both building the protocol and the front end has been quite challenging. There's been a bit of a bunch of times where I was about to give up, in the sense that when you face those problems where you really can't find a solution. Like I remember when I was trying to figure out file encryption and how to make it work between the front end and the blockchain, and how, like, because at the time it was everything needed to be figured out. I remember I spent like a whole day like walking back and forth in my room, like trying to figure out how to make it work, and then at the end, like I figured it out. But yeah, it was super challenging building the whole thing along the way. And right now the challenge is, of course, not really on the product side, because the core part has already been built. What we are finding challenging is to like approach users and approach like developers and everyone who could make use of this tool that we built, and like make experimentation happen. Because at the end of the day, this is a cool tool, but it is almost the flexibility that it offers. It allows almost for unlimited experimentation. So depending on the creativity that someone has, a lot of things can come out of Slice.
That's awesome. Okay, I love that. So speaking of cool tools, I'm also curious now, segueing over to how you use Alchemy, because I know you are an Alchemy user for this product. So walk us through which parts of the Alchemy developer platform you rely on for Slice and why that's useful.
Yeah, so right now we use Alchemy as an RPC provider, and basically because it was super easy to set up and it has a super high reliability. And we have the dashboard that gives us all the information that we need, and a bunch of tools that we know we're going to need in the future. So really commendable the effort that was put on Alchemy's side to make the experience from the dash perspective super frictionless. So congrats for that.
Awesome.
And besides that, in the future, two things that we want to use, I may ping you for like some suggestions or hints on how to do that, is how to interface with both the token API to get information about ERC20s. We're going to use that to show, for example, in our case, an earnings dashboard for the users. So you can see all the currency that you earn through the different slicers, and you can withdraw them to your wallet. And a second thing that I'm not going to go too much deep into it, because otherwise I'm going to open a whole new chapter about slicers. But slicers can also be used as containers for digital assets. So you can send NFTs to slicers, and the NFTs will then be owned by the smart contract. And in a way, those NFT will be shared between the owners of the slicers. So it's a way to handle community-owned assets. And we want to use the NFT API that you offer to to show an
Nice.
NFT gallery on the Slice front end.
Right. Okay. Sweet. So I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll probably at some future point put cards somewhere on the video, to link to tutorials to do that, and maybe we could explore this like on camera together or something, at a later point. But awesome. Thank you. It's really good to know. RPC provider, and then token API and NFT API to be explored.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Okay. Um, Great. So I guess this is your product right now. You're trying to get more developers to use it. I do like it's very similar to Alchemy from the perspective of this is an infrastructure layer. It's like a tool, and then people can use this for a lot of different use cases. So I'm pretty excited to see what people explore with this. What are you most excited about next year, and then for the next like 2 to 3 years in the industry? Given we're probably gonna have to think of on that time scale
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
market conditions.
Yeah. Well, definitely, as I said, I mean, I hope there's gonna be a bunch of experimentation with Slice because I think there's a lot of use case that, I mean, I have a bunch in mind already that I want to do myself, but I need to finish the protocol first. Um, but then besides Slice, I'm super excited about when the blockchain application will in chunk move to L2 because I think that will be a game-changing moment for the industry when everything will become much more usable from the user perspective, and the whole blockchain ecosystem will benefit from it. Right now,
Right.
it's still a bit there's still a bit of friction there. We need tools to make the everything work together, uh, but we're super excited to deploy Slice soon on L2 and on other chains to fulfill this vision of the ecosystem. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, that would be huge for accessibility for people, just to drive the costs down, make the interactions faster. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. A lot of people are saying kind of like maybe this year, but I don't know at this rate, but maybe this year it's like L2 summer. Summer's kind of ending soon,
Could be.
but could be. Awesome, cool. So also finally, what are some words of wisdom that you might want to share to people who are starting to build something new in the Web3 space?
Uh, well, one thing I would say is that even though we've been working on the blockchain space, we builders for a bunch of years right now, I still see the space as in its infancies, in the sense that there are still so many opportunities that are still left to be uncovered. And so I would one advice I would say to builders that are approaching this space is to not be frightened or get too hyped even by how the market moves or how like the trend goes, and just try to focus on the underlying technology, on the fundamentals, because there's a lot of stuff that like still needs to be done, and we definitely need a lot of there's a lot to be built, and there's no better space to be in right
Absolutely.
now, I think.
Nice, nice. That's very encouraging. I love that, and I feel the same way. So glad you are sharing that. Okay, cool. So thank you so much for popping on the show. We are gonna end every episode, I guess, with some quick fire questions, just to get to know more about you, and it's just like fun stuff. So I'll just fire off the questions, and then you can just say like one sentence or one word or whatever your answer is.
Okay, I'll try.
All right, ready?
Go ahead.
Cool. Where do you get your crypto news from?
Uh, Twitter, basically.
Nice.
That was an easy
Yeah,
one.
if you were an NFT, you would be a.
Well, either a crypto coven because I really, like the way that the collection was done was like I shares a lot of the value of the collections, or Nazuki
Mhm.
because I'm super into animes and things like that. So yeah.
Nice, nice. What's your favorite white paper? I know the answer to
Well,
this one.
that gotta be Bitcoin. It's a boring answer, but yeah,
Yeah.
gotta be that one.
The OG, the OG. Favorite songs to listen to when you're working?
Okay, I think this one gotta be like Porter Robinson's Nurture album. For some reason, I put it up
Uh,
whenever I need to focus on something, and like it just made me focus immediately for some reason. So yeah.
nice. That's awesome. Okay, and then last question, best Web3 aha moment.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Slice, but when I actually saw it working for the first time, you know, when you see this e-commerce interaction that you see on the front end that happens, and they are calling the blockchains and they're unlocking the product and everything working without logging errors in console, that was nice. Yeah, that felt nice. Felt nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, the end-to-end experience of you making
Yeah.
something on chain and then having it all connect. That's got to be a good feeling. Cool. I hope that other people get this feeling too someday, especially if you're watching as a developer. Thank you so much for Jacopo for coming on and sharing your product, sharing your story. I hope we get more series, more episodes from you in the future.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
All right, if you enjoyed that interview and found any part of it interesting, useful, or insightful, please drop a comment down below and let me know what it was so that I can make sure that I ask those questions or get that insight for you in the future. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We're going to be doing a lot of interviews, a lot of tutorials, a lot of news. So anything about the Web3 ecosystem or blockchain development that will be useful to you will come out on this channel. So don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. We'll see you next time. I'm Albert at That Guy in Tech. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. And yeah, bye.